and I know how the stack works.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what the curriculum looks like. It's teach them Java, teach them different languages, but we're not necessarily breeding computer scientists anymore. Why would we expect that security professionals are going to be better computer scientists than the people that overtly have a computer science degree? That's not a good idea.
You know, I came
Well, yeah.
here, I've come to a couple of conferences over the last year, and when I tell people that I've gone from security to managing the service desk, I get a lot of groans. And I have people asking me who I ticked off. But I'd like to point out an observation to the security community. I saw it as an opportunity. The service desk was my biggest enemy. They were breaking everything. That's where exploits were happening. Guess what? I'm in the process of putting in a program to secure it. I've got a hardened image. I'm in the process of implementing patch programs. I'm in the process of making security work from the other side. And I'd argue that the comment about cross-pollination is probably one of our biggest things. If we can spread people out and start looking beyond just the narrow vertical, we'll get a lot further, and we'll make the operations guys' life easier.
But I'm leader than you, and I have blue hair, and you don't know how to ride a skateboard.
I challenge all those things. Except you're the leader than me, I give you that, but I don't think you can ride a skateboard.
I can't ride a
Really
skateboard.
big skateboard.
Oh,
So-
that was a different person, but okay.
Yeah, so as far as I can tell, like CS is not about knowing, computer engineering is about knowing where the stack is and like how to actually do that stuff. CS in my like undergrad,
How old
that
are you,
was
sir?
math.
I just want to be clear. How old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay, check.
CS to me it's math. It's applied math. It's figuring out how to do things faster and better. It's not about necessarily making more secure or even understanding how the underlying architecture works.
That's a pretty cool artificial division there. That's almost like antivirus versus malware protection.
So, no, so, but it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that because high-level CS, a lot of it's algorithms and development like that. And at the end of the day, you know, if that's the focus of computer science, it's an interesting take. Then it doesn't matter the language, and you might as well teach the practical languages that people are using. But I see that computer architecture and the underlying of how the systems actually work to be fundamental and something that when you get the abstraction that the languages that they have now drops off the table. I know that's not what you're saying. I'm just saying it's interesting to hear your perspective, having gone through this recently, I presume. You're not a philosophy major who happened to be dating a CS major or something like that. Very good insight.
Artist.
Yeah, anyway. All right, next topic.
Scientist and engineer.
Yeah.
All right, so you've managed to find a fetish that works for you. Everybody knows rule number 34, right?
We're all about joy up here, aren't we? What
gotta-
a joyful frigging community we have. We're all about joy.
So you figured it out. Get it out there. How are we going to do that? We need to make it easy for people to learn how to do this stuff. Where's the, hey, look at this cool thing that I did when I put parts A, C, and F together in an interesting way with some glue logic that I wrote in crappy Python. Because, I mean, that's essentially what every offensive talk is about.
Yep.
So where's the defense?
This is a good example of how the offensive side of the house is usually ahead of our curve on the defensive side. They share, they talk about this stuff. See this new thing that I wrote. Here's my new Metasploit module. Here's my new addition to the SET framework. Here's, they're really good at sharing that information. On the defensive side, not so much. Ed.
Well, the other problem too is that, the offensive side, you've got weeks, months to deal with something, to create something. On the defensive side, you've got completely reactive.
Yep.
And it has to know.
So offensive people can take their time to be offensive. Defensive people are highly reactive and need to be able to throw something up, lash it together really right fast now.
And they can
You know what?
test against us,
Go
too,
back
by
to
the
your Junkyard Wars conversation and say,
Junkyard Wars conversation.
oh, maybe it wasn't you I was talking to. Oh, I was talking to another
kind of old.
person about that. Martin Fisher brought up
You guys
Armor
need
Guy.
to address a little bit of psychiatric stuff in your socialized medicine crap you've got going on up there in Canada, because it's just a little bit flaky.
Okay, let's call it a few beers later, I don't recognize humans. Armor Guy brought up a point. He said, a lot of defensive security is like Junkyard Wars. It's here's the problem you have, here's a collection of random shit, figure out how to take this part of a Jeep and this chunk of a Suburban and this washing machine and somehow make me excellent margaritas. And it's like, okay, I had no idea there was a requirement for margarita maker, and I seem to only have auto parts. Let me get right on that. And that's the challenge that's faced by defensive people probably day in and day out, and most of them react by saying, I'm not thirsty. instead of saying, oh, righty, let's get some welding crap going on here. And getting that information, putting it together and saying, here's a recipe for a certain kind of awesome. You don't find those. It's really hard to find anything that isn't, a 12-year-old Sans rant by somebody who is on the worst side of what makes ham radio not awesome.
We're going to go to the next speaker.
I think I'm actually agreeing with Jamie for a change, where I think the sharing of the information is absolutely key to this whole topic of defense. If you look back at all the successes that defenders have had in the security space since Bruce put his first triangle together, it's always been when we've banded together to do something. I mean, if you look at back when he made that triangle, that nice pyramid of his, at the base of that was patching, and Microsoft couldn't fucking spell security, let alone patch, and they're now arguably one of the better security businesses out there, or at least one of the better enterprises at executing on security. And that's all because the security community bashed at them heavily. Everyone did. And it's that binding together of everybody in the security community that's really going to make defense possible. Anything else, all this cohesive, I'm doing my firewall this way, you're doing your firewall that way, and it's just never going to work.
Well said.
Oh man, Todd went the other way, dude. I've been trying to get you some love for a while.
That's just rude.
It's just rude.
That's just rude.
We're such jackasses here.
So does Microsoft do it because the security community went and hammered on them, or are we back to the debits and credits thing where the auditors are going, we're just not going to sign off on any more Microsoft shit anymore, micro shit, because you put your stuff in there, we're probably going to lose it.
I think it's equal parts. I
Well,
mean,
wait a
I
second.
think
Market
they
forces.
actually finally figured out that the better their patch management is and their update process is, the more money they sell and the more licenses that they sell, and their customers are simply happier at the end of the day.
Yeah,
But rule one of running a
So
Microsoft
it's-
shop is
I
don't
know that one is
update.
not more important. It's equal
Not
parts.
anymore. No.
I'm sorry, Fortune 500, the rule number one is we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, that's changing.
Yeah, that's for Oracle too, and SAP and Microsoft and Red Hat, Enterprise Linux, and
Maybe in
SUSE,
Winnipeg
and
it works that way.
Nice grenades.
that's Winterpeg.
Maybe it's not super sexy, but you said defense is always reactionary. Why not inject ourselves into the business process when an idea, before it gets rolled out into a product, begin defense in the planning stages, work with the PMs, inject it into with developers, PMs,
Yep.
engineers,
Money.
anybody
Who's gonna pay
touching
for
it. Stop being so fucking reactionary and start with them in the beginning and educate the business people.
Sure.
Users might keep calling users idiots, but really, Jim is a great accountant because he's an accountant. We're great engineers and security people because that's what we do. Everybody's great at what they do. Doesn't mean they're dumb.
I don't do security though. I do transaction processing because that's where I work. I work for a transaction processing company. I don't work for a security company. Do you work for a manufacturing company or do you work for an IT department? That stuff becomes really kind of critically important, and we're back to we do a crappy job of sharing the recipes that work. If you're in healthcare and you got a recipe for how to get management to buy into stuff, write it down, share it. I might be looking at you, Martin. There's other places where we've got these, take all of those offensive security recipes for disaster and rewrite them as defensive securities for fuck you.
So most of the defensive stories are going to be, if you're a consultant, here's what happened at this company that I went to that got owned. And if you're in the thick of it day in, day out, it's here's what happened at my company when I got owned. And we have a whole bunch of
that's a
risk-averse
forensic story.
people
That's
in
not
the
a defensive
companies
story.
who are not going to let you tell that story. And yet we've already heard companies don't go out of business when this stuff gets out there. So we need to be making the point to the CEOs and the marketing droids to say, if we go out there and share this information about what happened when we got owned, we're not going to go out of business, we're going to get a better business.
Yeah.
We got a bunch. I kind of want to hear from Vis because he's been ranting about sexy defense for a very long time,
Oh, he's wearing that shirt too.
and he's wearing a
He has
pink
a pork shirt on.
shirt.
Pork.
Where's the mic, Todd?
Need a mic up here.
Yeah, we're up here.
Down
Yeah, a whole
here.
bunch of people. There's a little commune
Run.
of people that want to contribute.
Run!
Wow.
Oh, wow. That was great.
Todd.
So the last commenter actually sort of just beat me to the punch. I was going to say, in my experience, there's sort of two denominations of security people that you can generalize everybody into. Is people that are like, holy shit, I got owned. Here's how we got owned. We need to fix this. Find everyone else that has this config, patch it, tweak it, however. This is bad. It needs to be fixed. Then there's another denomination of people that says, fuck you, sign my NDA, or I'm not saying anything to you. Or no, I'm not going to say anything because like last commenter said, oh, it's going to make me look bad. And nobody likes saying I got owned, but I would think we would be hard-pressed to find anybody in this room that works for a company that's never, ever, ever been owned. That's just unlikely to exist.
Edison didn't get a light bulb the first time around.
I would also
Failure is a
challenge
part of
your-
the process, and part of the process of getting good at this stuff is knowing what works and what doesn't work, and we have no evidence. So, evidence-based symptom management, we've got
Right.
no evidence of what works and what doesn't work. We got a bunch of guesstimate crap and
Right.
a whole lot of lobbycon.
Well, that's exactly what I'm getting at. My end point was that if everyone is running SQL 2000 and everyone's getting owned on SQL 2000 and nobody tells anybody else that they're all getting owned on SQL 2000, they're all going to sit in a room with their arms crossed and just complain, and nobody's going to. It's the whole back to the whole sharing.
Do we think
data.
it's a grand mystery how people are getting owned?
It can't be.
I mean,
Ponage
really,
leaks.
I mean, and by the way-
sometimes, no, like,
WikiLeaks
in
for
highly targeted
NetSec.
situation, but at the end of the day, like,
not
people
magic.
get owned because they write crappy code and they get SQL injected, and people get owned because they don't patch, and people get owned because, oops, we left our video conferencing server on the internet. Like, I don't,
It sounds to me like we get owned because a bunch of people don't do their job.
well, aren't they? I mean, they're doing a job, and you got to pick and choose your battles,
not
man.
us.
Like, I'm just saying, I don't know that information sharing gets us a lot right now because I still don't think that the baseline quality of the security is high enough where information sharing is the barrier.
Generally, here's
At least not inter-organizationally. Maybe intra-organizationally there's issues that need to be tackled. But
You'd be surprised by how much the information sharing would amp up the existing security and incentivize new security because we realize, shit, we're getting owned.
Or even because people don't know.
I think
Because
you
nobody
have-
talks
no,
about
no, no.
defense.
we got the mic. Hey.
No, you have a
Yeah.
language problem is what you have. Generally, when we are talking about security problems and security fixes, we're talking our own language, which generally no one outside this friggin' room understands. We're not necessarily talking their language. And I would say the first guy in your example was an IT guy, and the second guy in your example was a bureaucrat. So neither one of those two guys are security guys, I would say.
Damn
But that's a
bureaucrats.
different point.
I'm gonna be your
Microphone right
bureaucratic
there.
and give the.
So-
But I
Yeah.
just think it comes down to language. They
Yo,
don't necessarily
that
understand
guy.
because...
Yeah, we're gonna cut you off now because we cut him
You can
off. so.
try and cut me off, and unless you take the microphone away from me...
All right. So this user gives us phishing email, and I find out these 3 users got to the link, and we tell them, you answered that phishing email, you got to change your password. What do you think the user says? Does he say, oh, thank you for saving me? He says, shit, I have to change my password. How do you make that sexy?
You train him. Actually, that's relatively easy.
Your password is now boobs.
The fix for that is easy. Train him now how to not get fished in the first place.
Oh, please.
Oh,
I'll
please?
fish your ass by the end of
No,
the
no, no,
year.
no,
You want
no,
to take a
that's not
bet?
what I mean. I didn't
You want to
say-
take a bet?
No.
Think I can fish Dave Marcus by this time next year? Yeah! Bring it fucking on. Come at me, bro. We'll do this.
Come at me, bro.
All right.
So what it comes down to is we're going to do something different. Leaving this con, we're going to get it done. It's not going to be 2005 and Bruce Potter goes off in a tent and nobody does anything about it.
And spends the next year trying to fish Dave Marcus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, this is on, man.
There's a place, we can get them together, we can write down what works, what doesn't work, we can talk patterns, we can talk anti-patterns, we can collate, collect, we can put together all of the research that's been done on defense, get it all into one place. Join the battle, don't join the battle, I don't give a flying crap, but I'm tired of it being a whole lot of talk and not much, action. There's a real challenge though.
Why isn't that a website
Canadians leading
SSL?
revolutions. Yeah, that would be a real challenge. I think.
We're gonna have
Why do you need SSL to look at a frickin' WordPress site?
It's going to go downhill. Let's go to the next
Here we
slide.
go.
Let's go to the next.
Move the slide forward. Jim. Move the slide forward.
So anyways, Bruce,
Doctor.
we got a challenge for you.
Oh, shit. Another one? I just challenged Dave Marcus to a fight. I mean,
No, Dave and I came up with a challenge for you.
Okay.
Here's the challenge.
okay.
In 2005, you were pretty serious about defense.
Right.
In 2012, you seemed pretty serious about defense. 2013, we want to see a track called Defend It.
This is not a challenge to me. I'll deflect that. I appreciate that. I've taken your comment to heart.
You've taken my comment to heart?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
I
so
hear
heard.
you. I hear what you're saying. Thank you, Toby. He raises a great point.
I submit a defense
Well, put the right
talk, and he
talk size
hijacks
in.
it for crying out loud.
It wasn't good till I got it. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. That
Thanks,
was mean.
Bruce. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And you know what? Let's play this one fair. Let's do a good job. And let's share some of that information that we have with each other. Everybody in this room is a mentor and a mentee. I know nothing. I am not an expert in shit. I'd love to learn from some of you.
This is the part where we all clap. Cool. We're going to do closing ceremonies in like 3 minutes. So sit tight. And I said sit tight. What are you doing? In the interim, Ted wanted me to remind you, Ted is selling videos. Please feel free to stop by. He'll be selling them after we're done with closing, too. I think it's $20 a video or $300 for the set. Feel free to swing by. Please support Ted. We like Ted. Yay, Ted!
Hey, Ted.
Yay, Ted!